Trevor Noah once said America is 50 countries masquerading as one. Do you think this is true or false? If so, why? That's the point of a federal country, such as Austria, Belgium, Ethiopia, Germany, Malaysia, Mexico, Nigeria, Pakistan, Switzerland or the United Arab Emirates. Not sure if this counts, but Canada kinda feels this way too. Absolutely. I can usually tell which province people are from by the way they act. Casse-ten State to Barnack, Northern Ontario. Anytime I read questions that end in "and why" like this, I think that some 9th grader got assigned an essay and wants Reddit to write it for them. Can you answer that in 2 pages? At least 500 words double spaced with MLA citations, please. The whole idea is that there are 50 independent political entities under one flag. So masquerading isn't the best description. But he's not totally off base. He kind of is. I mean, there are large regional differences, sure, but it's not like German vs Italian level differences. You could probably make an argument that it's 3 to 4 countries trying to act unified, but it's kind of hard, to try to say New Mexico and Arizona are supposedly so far apart from one another that it's basically like going to another country. Sure, the demographics and government change, but it's not that dramatic. If the US were to ever balkanize, it would be roughly along these lines: https://imga.com/a/eml3s5h. This seems mostly accurate, but Texas would proclaim independence and then just ally themselves with the rest of the region. And maybe Louisiana, if they were cool. Don't forget Hawaii would also proclaim independence. Just taking the phrase United States of America literally would suggest exactly that. The word state means country/nation/territory organized politically under a government. America is the landmass, i.e. North America/South America. So yeah, there are 50 states that are united, as if they are a single one ruled under another big government. And they all happen to be in America. France is a state, and Poland is a state, and Canada is a state. They just aren't among the united ones of America. It was once common to say the United States are, rather than the United States is. I've heard that the turning point was the Civil War. It used to be common to say these United States, rather than the United States. I'd recast Trevor's comment this way: 50 sovereign identities coexisting as one republic. More accurate. Don't know about USA, but this is spot on for India. Languages, cuisine, culture varies wildly throughout the country as you travel from one state to another. The closest analogy to India is probably Europe with respect to diversity in culture. Didn't realize it was applicable to US. True. You compare Assam, Rajasthan, J&K and Kerala. You wouldn't believe you're in the same country. This is sometimes even true for the states that share borders with each other. Not really. I suppose you can look at it a few ways. Legally or culturally. Legally, sure. There's the aspect of states having some amount of control over their own laws, but this tends to only cover specifics and relatively minor stuff in the grand scheme of things, with the country's law taking precedence in most cases. Culturally, there is a fair difference between states, but I still see the overall US cultural identity as stronger than the variations between different states. There's a far greater difference in cultures between, say, countries in Europe than states in the US. And even within a fairly small country like the UK, I'd say there's just as much of a range in cultures across the country as there is across the US. You guys have the benefit that you almost all speak the same language, English, while over here every country has its own language, sometimes even different religion. Even within the UK there are several different spoken national languages. English, Scots and Welsh are the big ones. In Wales, all communications from the local government must be in both English and Welsh. There's also some speakers of Irish, Anglo-Romani and Gaelic. A few people speak Cornish too. Edit. I'd be quite surprised to find anyone born here that doesn't have English as a first language, except for possibly the children of some recent immigrants. To me they pretty much seem like provinces that basically every country has, not different countries. I can see the point of a statement like that. There is a big difference, and a lot of common ground between, say, California, Rhode Island, and North Dakota. Then again, if you ever ask me, I always answer I'm a Texan. But there is definitely a lot of different flavors of us Texans too. The 50 states are hardly autonomous with so much federal law on the books. So Trevor is overstating the case for the purpose of humor. In context, it was sincere. He was talking about his preconceived beliefs and understandings of American culture, originally thinking that it was more homogeneous than it actually is. Not 50, no, but maybe 10 or so, yeah. I think culturally a lot of regions could probably hold together as one country. The South, the Midwest, the Southwest, etc. California and New England would probably stand to be several smaller countries. Lol, wait until you visit India. From an outside perspective, hell no, Milwaukee didn't bomb the Middle East. The states aren't like countries. Some of them are like Texas and California and a few others, but most are more like provinces that every other country has. The states aren't separate enough from US Congress to be country-like. I wouldn't call it 50 different countries, but there are definite regions in the US that are closer to separate countries. Culturally speaking, https://www.businessincida.com/regional differences United States-2018-1. There are cultural differences in all parts of countries. The US isn't unique in the fact it's not a giant monolith. Yay, it's supposed to be. Miami is different than Seattle. Imagine my shock. One does coke, one does heroin. They both like weed, though. Any differences between the states are pretty minor in comparison to leaving the USA to somewhere else. There are differences, but all 50 states are distinctly American. Even a place like Hawaii. Think of it like the Greek city/states of old. Essentially each was independent, but were part of a united Greek world. Then the Romans came along and had a republic. The US is a hybrid model. States are self-governed and only answer to the federal government in federal matters. The federal government is also made up of representatives from those states who vie for federal mandates that are good for their self-governed state. The Fed also has its own police force, FBI, and other agencies that are mirrored in state, county, and city levels. The FBI is supposed to only intervene in multi-state crimes unless called upon. Criminals who cross state lines often become federally hunted criminals because now they are multi-jurisdictional and fall under the umbrella of federal control. Also, each state teaches its own history in schools that are managed by the state rather than the federal. In Georgia you take Georgia history and US history, while in New York you would have a New York-centered history book. Americans of the United States have several loyalties in their social contract. You have your local community, your town/city, your county, your state, and the nation as a whole. Each requires different levels of commitment and taxation, and in response each provides a different level of governance and systems. In the event of a natural or national disaster, each state and their lower levels of governance are set up to work as if the Fed didn't exist to an extent. Meaning should Washington D.C. be removed from the equation, the states could still function for a time, if not indefinitely, until a solution is found. National Guard units are drawn from states and are technically soldiers of that state and are tasked with state-mandated defense and aid. They are federal military and state militia at the same time. But in the last 40 years, federal mandates have made state control of these guard units fall more and more under federal control. Until 1986 a governor or a state could withhold mobilizing troops for a war if they felt it was not in their interest. And in 2006 the federal passed laws making it legal for the president to directly mobilize guard units within their states with permission of the governor. So dissolution of state autonomy and power is real, but at varying degrees. This is sort of how most places are, even within states. I mean the difference between Baltimore, MD and Cecil County, MD is huge. And if you go to France the difference between Aix and Grenoble is pretty huge. The left coast, the far west, the Midlands, El Norte, Greater Appalachia, Deep South, New France, Tidewater, New Netherland, Yankeedom, New France, First Nation Amerindian Nations, A History of the 11 Rival Regional Cultures of North America by Colin Woodward. They missed Texas. It's not a secret. That's how we were designed. E pluribus unum.